All right. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Last Call Week 16 Championship Edition. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, subbing in for Dave Eddy for the third week in a row. Thank you so much for doing this, man. Is producer of the Fantasy Six Pack Hour, Jeff Hicks. What is up, man?
Nothing. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone. I know you guys did the show yesterday without me. You're welcome.
I could have definitely used you, but it's all good.
Oh yeah, Is that tough for you?
Missed the slides a couple times. All of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, I didn't change the slide." No, it's like behind all the other windows. Yeah. That's cool though.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, I edit for another website, and I finished an article at 8:50 my time, so 9:50 your guys' time. So yeah, I wasn't thrilled about that. So even if I wanted to do the podcast last night, it wouldn't have worked out. So
Wait, what time are you done?
Like 8:50 my time, which is 9:50 your time.
Yeah, come on, we didn't start on time.
I'm just saying. No, I saw it pop up because I get notifications for Fantasy Six Pack podcast on YouTube. So whenever we're doing the live stuff, I always have a notification. But
no, it's all good.
But nobody cares about my schedule.
It's all good. We made it work. It's fine, dude. It wasn't even really supposed to happen last night if you think about it. Because my back and stuff.
You were day to day with a back.
Woo! Man, I thought I was going on the IR, dude. It was
not rough. just a back injury, a back. We got to say it correctly. So
it was he's on out with a back.
Man, good thing he has one. Yikes.
I love those. I love those kind of injury reports. Yes. All right, man. Well, let's jump into this. We are at halftime of the Titans and the Packers, the snowy Sunday night game, and the Packers are up 19-7. Titans finally got on the board late with a Jonnu Smith touchdown. Green Bay scored twice with Devonte Adams. And probably the biggest news is Aaron Jones looks pretty doubtful to return with I think I know he had the toe. Was it ankle? Is it just saying is what it is? I don't know what knocked him out this time, but
I don't have it directly in front of me.
But he did get injured again. So I mean, they've got a pretty healthy lead. They're kind of dominating this game, honestly, even though it is it's a technically 2-score game, but he may
they scored on their first 3 possessions.
Yeah, so he may not come back in if they can just they're protecting people for the playoffs at this point. Anyway, moving on here to the first game. Go ahead, take it away, man.
Man, what a dumb game. So the Jets beat the Browns 23-16.
Way to not get the first pick, guys.
So this is the only stat that matters. Baker Mayfield threw the ball 53 times. If you're living under a rock, you don't know then that the top 3 receiving options for the Browns were out today because of COVID, whether it being a positive test or close contact would have been too close for them to get in. So instead of featuring your 2 running backs and your 73.5 tight ends, you throw the ball 53 times. And really only Austin Hooper does anything with 7 for 71 out of that. Joe, why did Cleveland only run the ball 15 times? I know first we'll preface the Jets have a decent run defense. But beyond that, why are they not doing more than – it was 4 rushes in the first half. Why did they only finish with 15 for the game? That's the answer. And as someone who
literally nothing, man. It makes no damn sense. Sorry to cut you off, but Baker Mayfield should never throw the ball 53 times in a normal game, even when he's got his top receivers. Hell no. You've got the best rushing attack in the NFL, or one of them, right? This is absolutely retarded. I'm sorry. It just is, man. You should have just pounded it. You want to know something else I'm tilted about this game about? So my opponent in one of my championships today, she lost Hunter Henry. And so I was like, cool. She went out and picked up Austin Hooper. And I was like, that could be interesting. This was on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
I was like, Austin Hooper, that's not a terrible pickup. Then the entire receiving core for the Browns gets hurt. And I go, wow, that was a really, really good pickup.
I mean, you could have played Harrison Bryant today too, and he would have been serviceable.
Right.
Like, I think he ended up with almost 40 yards. I will say before we move on to the next game, all 3 tight ends hit their overs and receiving props after they were posted today on DraftKings Sportsbook. So thank you, tight ends. Moving on, Ravens take care of business against the Giants 27-13. Daniel Jones gets 252 in the air. No running game to speak of. Sterling Shepard does this thing in the second half and gets a touchdown. Lamar, 183 and 2 through the air, another 80 on the ground. Dobbins gets his before he leaves. Unfortunately, he left in the third quarter. What is Lamar's draft value next season after he finishes much better than he started this year?
It's something I've been thinking about, because obviously he was touted as like the number 1 quarterback this year. Him and Mahomes were kind of 1-2, depending on what league you were in. And they were both going pretty early. I think Mahomes is obviously going to be the first next year. It'll be interesting to see kind of where like Rodgers falls in, because a lot of people were off of him this year. I know he's having an amazing season, but I'm not sure he's going to replicate this. But I kind of think Lamar is going to fall in behind like a Kyler, and I don't know who else is up there.
You're looking at Josh Allen.
Yeah. He's going to fall in line with like the Josh Allen. I think he'll probably be like the 5th or 6th quarterback taken, just because he's got that rushing floor. And it's almost like
a lot of those guys at the rushing floor, you could even say like that's your top 6 outside of Mahomes and Rodgers even.
Yeah. So like the thing with him is I think early on the Ravens were trying too hard to pass the ball, and they finally realized, guys, we're not good at this. We just need to run first 4 times and then throw. Like, and that's what they've done, and they've leaned heavily. They finally moved off of Ingram, who's just looked like a sack of bricks this year, and Dobbins is finally the guy. So yeah, it's a somewhat efficient passing game, I guess I should say, but it's all the running game, and that's what, if they can do that again, then he's going to return value again next year. But he's not going to go top 1-2 quarterbacks like he did last year.
Makes sense. Okay, this is a one-word question. In what round of the NFL draft do the Ravens take another running back? Because they're going to.
3.
Of course, it's right around when Dobbins went. All right, next game. Bengals go to Houston and steal a victory 37-31. Brandon Allen back under center. Had his best game of the year, 371 through the air and 2 touchdowns. Gio gets 131 all-purpose yards. T. Higgins, pardon me, gets 99 in the score. Even Samaje Perine, the ghost of Samaje Perine, gets in the end zone. Watson, running for his life again, loses 2 tackles and still finds a way to put up over 20 points for fantasy. Really, this is probably one of the better games, and if you were someone that's stacked in DFS, you probably did very well. I guess the one thing I'm going to take from this is that David Johnson looked good against a team that had been pretty good against the run lately.
Yeah.
Do you see the team sticking with the duo of Johnson and Johnson, or is this another one of those teams that could probably take a later round back and hope that they just supplant Duke Johnson behind David Johnson next year?
I would hope that they draft a running back and supplant David Johnson, but let's be real, he hasn't been great this year. It's funny, I don't know if you even watched the show last night, but I did the DFS picks. Shockingly. But hey, I actually nailed David Johnson as a running back. I was like, guys, the value's too good here. It's not the greatest matchup, but the value is phenomenal. And so I was like, if you're feeling lucky, like, he's a guy, because there was a lot of running backs you could go for, but he was just one that kind of stuck out to me. So I didn't play him, unfortunately, which was stupid on my own part. But, I played Gio, Samaje Perine, you're dead to me. Stealing the 2 touchdowns, but, whatever. He still had a decent day. Yeah, I think the Texans need to go ahead and get a running back, man. Duke Johnson just isn't getting the job done, and I mean, I ultimately think they need to go probably second, third round, and hopefully get a guy who can really take over David Johnson, because he's not getting the job done either. But we'll see. They don't love Bill O'Brien, so maybe they'll do something smart.
Oh boy, it's an awful lot to ask for. Moving on, the Bears win 41-17 in a game that took until the third quarter for the Bears to actually kind of get some breathing room. Trubisky, he had a Trubisky game. He got his in the air. He also threw into quadruple coverage for an interception in the end zone. Allen Robinson gets his revenge for 10 and 103. Montgomery, they established way too late, but he does his thing. And Mike Glennon all over himself. It seems like the Bears did what they're supposed to do, which is not run. That's
early on, man. I was like, what are they doing?
No, that's the Matt Nagy way. So here's the thing. They're in a situation where when they're in. Is that pretty much a situation next week where Matt and Nagy, no matter what Green Bay does, they're winning tonight, obviously, and that means a lot for them for the first overall seed in the NFC. But if you're the Bears, is it run first, ask questions later in week 17?
It should be, but I mean, after really paying a lot more attention to this game, because Montgomery was my lock running back pick this week, and going, what in the hell are they doing, passing the ball so many times to Jimmy Graham in the red zone? And then they did that crazy sweep play with Cole Kmet on the 2-yard line. I'm like, come on. So
as I quote Lawrence Holmes from The Score, that's
that's
play.
when I tweeted in
It's
anger. I was
play.
just like, what the hell is happening here? Yeah, I don't know. Look, they're not beating the Packers. The Packers aren't going to let them in. Aaron Rodgers does not like them. Come on, let's be real.
If the Rams don't let in the Cardinals next week, it's that simple. Well, we actually have to go to that a little bit later on, too, because there's actually.
By the way, all I got to say is Jacksonville, enjoy Trevor Lawrence.
Man.
Congratulations.
DJ Shark's going to look good next year.
I would hope so.
Okay, next game. I actually was talking to other people about this game. I was like, this game's going under. Chiefs 17, Falcons 14. Didn't even come close to their total that Vegas had set it at. That said, it was still an excellent game if you're looking at Matt Ryan. Goes for 300 through the air with 2 scores. Ito Smith, 10 for 46. Kelvin Ridley, another one of those guys. He had a warm-up in the second half, but he goes for 130 yards. Mahomes, another interception today. And you had a split backfield. Again, low-scoring game. Not exactly what you're looking for. But with Clyde Edwards-Helaire out, it was more of a split backfield, especially with Daryl Williams kind of leading the charge today. So CEH could probably miss a game with the Chiefs locking up the first overall seed in the AFC. It's still a possibility. There's no guarantee that he'll be healed in time. Is there any way that the Chiefs can win with Daryl Williams essentially in a 50-50 workload as opposed to CEH and Le'Veon Bell in their presumed 50-50 workload that they had before?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs are a lot better than what they showed today. I mean, we've been saying it for a while. The Falcons have really improved over the last, the second half of the season. I didn't expect this at all. This game had shootout written all over it. It was my 2 quarterback and receiver stack things. It was Mahomes and Kelsey, Mahomes and Hill. Of course, I kind of went off Hill a little bit today. Once I heard a little bit more about the hamstring, I said, I'm off Hill. It's only going to be Kelsey. But then, to kind of be different, I guess, I went, you could also use Ryan and Ridley. And, it would have been fine, although no touchdowns except for Kelsey. But the scores were low. The running game was non-existent on both sides. It is very interesting to see maybe just how important CEH is to the offense. It's kind of crazy. I don't know why they kind of sputtered today. Maybe Hill was a lot less healthy than they let on, and so they just couldn't get anything done. But Mahomes just looked off me. 24 for 44. That's not Mahomes.
Another thing too is the front four of the Falcons had one of their better games this season. I mean, there's many times Mahomes was rolling out and it wasn't designed. He threw away a lot of balls. I know the interception near the end zone where the linebacker read the route and was underneath where Kelsey was at on that route. Like Mahomes never saw him. That's very interesting. I'm not going to say it's something to be too concerned about because God forbid Mahomes has a normal game. But I mean that's just something that we hadn't seen very often. So I mean, Raheem Morris and company almost pull off the upset. I think, I mean, this was their Super Bowl. This was their Super Bowl today.
It's funny. I did a little. I did the Falcons preview before the season, and I remember looking at it like once they made the switch last year at defensive coordinator, like it was like a completely different team. And then this year I was like, if they can ride off of that, and it just started off so bad again this year. So they never really won a lot of games this year after they flipped again, unfortunately, but there was drastic improvement again. It'll be interesting to see if they retain Morris as the head coach. So.
It'll be interesting, but Tannehill, sorry. Yep, he just broke one. Anyways, last game from the early slate today, which still has too many games in the early slate. Steelers, impressive come from behind win at home against the Colts, 28-24. Phillip Rivers, cool. Jonathan Taylor got his 2 touchdowns early, and that was kind of about it. We're talking about their offense really sustaining any pressure. Big Ben gets off the schneid in a big way with 342 and 3 through the air. Juju, Deontay Johnson get back on track as well too. Did the Steelers offense finally figure it out, or is this just a case of the Colts have just not been the same defense this start of the year?
Yeah, I mean, the Colts defense has definitely taken a bit of a nosedive, but I mean they were absolutely dominating the Steelers, and the Steelers looked like the Steelers of the last 3 weeks. They looked lost. They were dropping passes. Nothing was getting completed, and then all of a sudden, bam! It was like, we're playing around, guys. Here. And they completely abandoned the run game, which is what they did on their 11-game win streak. Like maybe they just need to not run the ball and try to force this in. It's not working. Don't run the ball. Look, they're not going to win in the playoffs without a run game, period. I don't think it's going to happen. But you know what? You're not winning with it. So I say get rid of it right now. They definitely have to address it in the offseason. They've got to go get a running back. Benny Snell's not it. James Conner's not it anymore. They've got to go get a run game. I don't know if it's they need some more run blocking offensive linemen or what, but because I think I was hearing a stat that Big Ben, what they've done with him this year to protect him is they've done more like short drops, quicker passes, get the ball out of his hand. So maybe the offensive line isn't really that good in Pittsburgh, so they can't like hold their blocks to sustain a run game, but they can sustain like a 3-step drop, bam, get the ball out type of thing. So maybe they got to go get some offensive linemen in the draft and free agency. And I say go get a running back because James Conner is constantly banged up. Maybe the injuries are stacking up. And, Snell's flashed here and there, but that's not really it. So,
okay, quick follow-up here. I want to do this. So going to tankathon.com, which is the most accurate and up-to-date when you're looking at draft order. Obviously, it's a little fluid past the top 12 right now.
Right.
Do you think the Steelers at pick 30 are the first team to take a running back? Just so you know, ahead of them. At 23, Miami, 24, Baltimore, then Tampa, Tennessee, Seattle, Buffalo, and New Orleans. So, I mean, you could maybe say 1 or 2 of those teams could be it, but do you think maybe number 30 is where you see the first running back taken in this draft?
I doubt it. Now, I'm not up on all of my prospects. I know Travis Etienne from Clemson is likely to come out. I don't know enough about the other running backs. I have to talk to my, our friends over at TDDR and, Matt Hicks. Maybe are you guys related?
No, Jesus Christ.
Just kidding. Jesus.
No, I thought that as actually I just want to look it up real quick. So yeah, I mean it's not far off from where Clyde Edwards-Helaire went.
Yeah, he went 32 last year. I mean, last.
So yeah, I mean that's it may be where it's kind of at right now.
I would doubt it. I mean, but it depends. There's a lot. I'd have to look into it more. Again, I just haven't done my draft research, my college research this year. I barely even watch a lot of college football, unfortunately. I know like the top maybe 6 or 7 guys coming out. I know a bunch of the quarterbacks. Really is all I know, unfortunately. So there's a lot of them. So quarterback needy teams are looking good this year. So
yeah.
All right, let's move into the late afternoon game, starting off here with the Broncos and the Chargers. Chargers win another squeaker finally, 19-16. Drew Lock looked okay, 24-47, 264. I mean, 2 picks, but it ran a rushing touchdown, stole it from Gordon. Jerk. He was my other DFS play that I liked a lot.
You and everybody else.
Right? I mean, hey, why not? But Gordon, 16 for 79, not terrible, but not great. Hamilton, the big winner on the receiving game, 5 for 77. Herbert, 21 for 33, 253 and a touch. Eckler, 10 for 45, caught 3 for 23. And then Big Mike, 4 for 54. So not much there offensively for the Chargers, unfortunately. I mean, this game's kind of whatever fantasy-wise. Not a lot of scoring. I guess looking in the future, do you think Elway finally needs to admit that he was wrong with Locke and just move on from him this year? I mean, there are a lot of good quarterbacks, as I just alluded to, and you think he takes one? They've got a fairly early pick.
Yeah, right now I think they're slotted number 10. But Elway admitting fault would be like me lying about my height and saying I'm 6 feet all the time. It's just, it's not going to happen. I wish they would, because Locke just doesn't have it. But I really think that he could be a superior backup.
Yes.
I mean, if you can get, what he did today minus, the 2 picks, let's say, 1 pick and 1 touchdown, it's not bad for a backup. Yeah. But I think he's going to get probably something like a Trubisky treatment where they just maybe have a different veteran there next year.
That's possible.
Oh boy,
they've got to bring in somebody. Oh my gosh, Devonte Adams again.
Yeah, and that was after.
Hey guys, maybe you should cover him.
Aaron Jones is back, by the way, too. Yeah, he just broke a long one that looked like he stepped out of bounds. So
he did.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're playing showdown slate, you don't have Adams. Pretty much in captain, you may be toast tonight. Yeah, maybe toast. Maybe the Kamara situation.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they do. I think they've got to bring in somebody to maybe mentor Locke. Like they've got to get somebody in there. Like, dude, even if it's like a Fitzpatrick type of guy, like, why the hell not?
Why not? Exactly. Like, he should
fantastic.
Be starting. It's awful.
The no look throw, that was pretty phenomenal last time.
The rip my face off throw.
Panthers, Washington football team. Panthers win 20-13. Dwayne Haskins is garbage. Moving on there. Henneke, I'm not really sure I even knew who this guy was. I didn't know
he was with Carolina.
I remember the name, but I didn't know he was on Washington. I also looked up and I was like, excuse me?
He was asked to be their quarantine quarterback while he was studying for final exams for Old Dominion because he never graduated. So, yeah.
Oh, man, that's hilarious.
It's Ron Rivera. He knows what he wants, so.
Gibson returns, so that's good news, but not much else here. Is that supposed to be Logan Thomas, 8 for 77 and a touch?
No, that's McKissick.
McKissick. Sorry, I didn't write the name down, but that's cool. I thought Logan Thomas. Oh, no, it was called back. Logan Thomas did score, but it was called back.
Yep.
That's right. That's why I thought that was Logan Thomas. Bridgewater, not much there for him. 197 a touch. Davis, tough sledding for him. At least he scored. I called him in my bus last night, so yeah.
But still, under 10, like essentially, yeah, he was like right at 10 points in full PPR. I mean, it was a total loss of a game, but he's playing Washington's defense.
Yeah. And then Curtis Samuel, man, he baller, dude. 5 for 106, 52 rushing yards. He broke some dude's ankles early in that game. It was pretty phenomenal.
The Samuel Hive is alive and well.
Yeah. Here's another quarterback situation here, man. Like, what does Washington do? Like Alex Smith is Alex Smith. He's not gonna be anything great. You know, they've got to move on from Haskins at this point. The guy's a total shit show at this point.
And he didn't meet with press afterwards today too, and everything. They couldn't get a hold of him.
He's a little baby, dude. Like he needs to not be on this team. I hated the pick 2 years ago, and he's proving me right time and time again. And so they got to move on from him. They need somebody to supplant Alex Smith. Is it going to be a vet? Is it going to be a rookie? What do you think? Because they're going to have a middle of the first round pick. You know, I don't know.
I mean, if they end up washing out of the playoffs, I mean, you're talking, you know, probably somewhere between 12 and 16.
12 and 14, 15.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a chance, a Trey Lance, or if you want to, depending on how heavy the quarterbacks go, Kyle Trask. If you're going to look in the middle of the round and just kind of sit there and take the next best guy. Man, there's going to be enough, I think, serviceable players that if you want to get somebody that can be Alex Smith, you can just sign them for a year and just see what happens in the next draft. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those things that you're kind of in draft purgatory if you're not going to pick, you know, top 10 or top 12.
Yeah, it just kind of stinks, you know. I said it the year that they did it. I said, you know what, you're going to stink. Don't draft Haskins. Just draft the best available player and go after a quarterback next year if you want one.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, they took Haskins, and now we see what's happening. And now they're like, because the NFC East is so bad, they could be average. And that's the worst spot to be when you need a quarterback.
And it was a different regime, too. So, I mean, we can't exactly put this on Rivera or anybody like that as well, too. So.
I can always put it on Snyder, which I love to do.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't root for them anymore. I will not root for them until Snyder is gone, which might be when I'm dead. Anyway, Rams, Seahawks 20, Rams 9. This game was ugly.
It sucked.
This game was terrible.
It sucked.
Side note, me and AJ were building lineups after 2.5 of these last night, and he was building it for a GPP, and I was like, you got to be different, man. Like, don't just go Mahomes. Everybody's going Mahomes, and we're looking at it, and I was like, Goff could be interesting. Seattle's defense has gotten better, but like that could be an interesting game. It could be different. So I was like, you could stack Goff and Kupp and whatever and blah blah, and we made I thought a pretty decent lineup, and it was different. Man, thankfully he went off of that. I don't think his lineup did very good regardless, but that would have been atrocious with Goff and Kupp and Lockett. Anyway, Goff 234, nothing. Broke his thumb apparently. Not good,
Rappaport's saying that. I caught it on the halftime report right before we started. I didn't exactly see when he hit his right hand on the helmet of defender. But yeah, that was nice and bendy.
I saw a Tannehill got
close.
picked. That would have been 6. Like I saw the note fly on my phone right before the show started, and I knew he had an injured thumb and that he was doubtful for next week pretty much already, but I didn't know it was broken. So that's pretty much
and we get John
for him
Wofford of the XFL or AFL or whatever FL. He was in before. He was the league leader. I forgot what league it is, but the good thing they're pretty much already set into a playoff spot because they would be bleeped if next week was a win and you're in type of situation for them.
Yeah, Daryl Henderson didn't really get the job done. I flexed him in one league this week, just hoping he could fall into the end zone. Didn't get it done. Did lead the team in rushes. Cooper Kupp was the best receiver, so at least I was right, but it wasn't enough. 8 for 66. On the other side, Wilson, man, he gets sacked way too much, man. Like they showed this game a lot because there was only 4, and it just he gets sacked a lot, man. I don't really know what's going on with that offensive line. Maybe
it regressed. It's just simply regressed. Is what happened.
Carson 16 for 69, Metcalf 6 for 69. So he actually did pretty well against Ramsey.
That's the best he's done, I think, in his career. And was it 3 performances?
Well, and that's why I was telling AJ play Lockett, because I was like, Ramsey's on Metcalf. Like, you want to play the other side.
I did that 2-in-1 lineup.
I mean, it made sense. I mean, Metcalf gets absolutely owned, so I wasn't all for it. But I mean, what? There's a couple of things here I want to ask you about. So one on the Rams side, like, what's going on with Goff? Like, you wrote the question down. If you're starting a franchise today, would you rather have Baker or Goff? I mean, the way they've been lately, that's an interesting question.
I'd rather watch the Jets play football on loop for a month straight. No, honestly, I think I would have Baker because I think he does a better job adjusting. And I think Jared Goff essentially has been catered to so well by Sean McVay that if you had Matt Nagy, he would look worse than Trubisky has in the same offense. Like, I honestly think that the 1 year that we saw Goff just go absolute, bonkers was because him and McVay figured out a plan that worked for the two of them.
And Gurley
and then everybody at the NFC West is like, okay, we got tape, we're good. And since then, he's been what, 40% of that, 50% of that guy.
Nowhere near that. I get it.
So I think at least Baker's played. He's played like garbage, but he's also had different circumstances where he doesn't have, he didn't have the playmakers for a little bit, and there wasn't just as much investment in the offensive line the way that it has been the last year and a half. Like, they had a good line right before they got him, but then it regressed because there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
But I think the way they've invested in that team, I think he's at least set up for another 2 to 3 years where he can still be a decent quarterback.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the way Baker played without Odell really tells a lot about both players, honestly.
I think a lot of it had to do to that there's reports that Baker felt like he had to get the ball to him, but when he's practicing, they're saying pretend he's not there, so he knew other players were there. Well, when he gets to the game time, he's still there. At least he was there before he got hurt. But the soft tissue, and he's just a different story. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, there's clearly a weight lift off his shoulder.
As soon as Odell got hurt that night, me and Dave were on this show, and I said, I actually think Baker will be better the rest of the season without Odell. You watch. And
it's a shame that he got put in a situation where he had to think a certain way with Odell in the lineup.
But Odell's one of those receivers that's going to do that to almost anybody. Unless he goes and plays with Rodgers, I think he'll finally be like, all right, Rodgers, I'll listen to you. Stuff like that. But
and it happens. I mean, you still have all world players like Terrell Owens and Chad Ochocinco that made it work. Sure, they fell into good situations more often than not. But that doesn't mean that Odell can't figure it out, or doesn't mean that, another season where his injuries. Good. I'm more concerned the fact that he's had too many soft tissue injuries, and that's something for a guy that needs his legs desperately.
I agree too. So real quick on the Seahawks, I want to ask you, we've seen these up and downs from Wilson. Every season, it feels like it's either he starts off slow and comes on hot, or he starts off hot and goes cold. In a redraft, in a season-long redraft league, are you taking Wilson anymore as your quarterback? Do you want him?
Yeah, of course I do. There's still rushing floor. I think the issue is that the Seahawks, when they have decided to invest in linemen, it takes draft capital through trades, or they're waiting too long, or they're just missing. In other words, they're really bad at evaluating offensive line talent. That doesn't take away from the talent that is Russell Wilson. I think you've seen it. Clearly, he doesn't have upside in rushing like a Hurts does behind a bad line, or what we've seen now, even with Jackson, where they've lost, two centers to retirement injury in, the last calendar year and stuff like that. Like, those things matter. Or losing Ronnie Stanley, that's huge for anybody. But when you have the ability to at least create new passing lanes with your legs, I think that gives you just even the slightest boost over a quarterback like a Ben Roethlisberger, who now just completely depends on his history of the game. Like, you're not asking him to run 10 yards to keep the chains moving. So I mean, Wilson isn't probably going to be like a QB, like the QB2, like he was considered, if you weren't, big on Lamar. But I mean, I can't imagine like 7 quarterbacks better than him. So what is he, like, worst top 6?
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, like so we've already said it. We said like Mahomes, it's gonna be Kyler. We're gonna throw in
Josh Allen.
We're gonna.
I'll throw in Lamar just because
Lamar,
of the running. I would put
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, sure, of course. And then I would put Wilson.
And then Wilson. So Wilson 6.
Unless you want to consider Dak, but then you may say too, well, what if his line doesn't come back healthy, or they don't invest in the line again in the offseason? Do you run into that issue too, or what happens?
Dak would be an interesting one. I know we're missing somebody. I can't even think of it.
Or like if Rodgers loses like Lindsley, in the heart of that line, or Bakhtiari.
I wonder where like Herbert and those guys are going to go next year, type of thing too. You got to think about that. There's a lot of interesting players there, but yeah, he's in that middle, the QB1 range, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just somebody that honestly to me like isn't super appealing because he has been inconsistent, to where I don't know if I'm drafting a guy that high, I usually wait till the back end of the QB1 or even like some of the QB2 range because I just I'll find somebody eventually. If I'm drafting a guy who I think is going to be my QB the whole season, I want somebody at least that's going to be consistent. And Wilson hasn't been that this year.
I think at least, though, I think we could probably agree. You could tell a tale where he's a top 5 quarterback next year. I think
absolutely.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I think that's what we could probably agree on, that there's enough wiggle room, right around like QB6 where it makes sense for Wilson to be. So
he should, and he'll finish the season that way because he'll have his boom games
of course.
Have his dud games, So
and you just look at stats like, oh yeah, he is QB6. Who would have thought?
Yeah. All right, finishing up here. Eagles 17, Cowboys 37. What? Dude, this game looked like Hurts and the Eagles were going to destroy the Cowboys. And then it all changed. The defensive player for the Eagles got hurt. I'm blanking on his name. And it was like the Eagles defense was like, we don't know what to do anymore. And it was all Cowboys from there. Hurts, put up a lot of yards, 342, touchdown, threw a bomb to Djax. Of course he did his little flip in the end zone. I was like, oh, way to go try to hurt yourself again, buddy.
Right.
2 picks, lost a fumble as well, 69 rushing yards. Nice. Sanders, 57 and a touch. I know, right? We're 12. 27 receptions, yards. I mean, and then Djax, like I say, 81 yards and a touch. Dalton, 377, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Absolutely disgusting line right there. All the receivers for the Cowboys did pretty well.
Yes, they
Gallup
did.
was the big one, 6 for 121 and 2. Zeke returned and looked good, man. 1,905, 34 reception yards. I mean, look, this was the first time Hurts looked like a rookie. I mean, especially late in the game, they tried to make a comeback. He looked like he was just missing open guys and trying to force things and fumbling and turning it over, and he cost them. Like they were a lot closer than 37-17. They were in the game, and he kept turning it over. I mean, what do we take from this? Like, if you're playing a week 17, I think they're playing Washington, actually, aren't they?
Oh,
yeah, they're playing Washington. Dallas is playing the Giants. The Eagles are playing Washington. Do you trust Hurts next week against Washington, knowing he's got that rushing floor?
The rushing floor is nice, but there's this guy named Chase Young that is a bit of an issue.
You don't.
It's one of those things. There's a lot of people that put a lot of stock in him. Like, the big question going into this week was there's a chance that you had Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, because you just wanted to pick up Hurts, as a flyer because you saw Wentz's, he was crap in the bed.
Semifinal opponent who had Derek Carr. And it
yeah,
worked.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, then embarrassment of riches. But, I mean, the rushing floor, as we discussed pre-show, it appears to be above 50 yards. And I think next week there's a chance that he's going to get those 50 yards running for his life. I think you're going to see a cap probably in his passing yardage. I don't know if he's throwing, for nearly 40 attempts next week, but I think what he's gonna see when he watches the tape with his QB coach. There's too many times he didn't check down to Miles Sanders, who was open 5-7 yards in front of him. There's a reason why they've worked really well in tandem for essentially 2.5 weeks now. I think he has to realize that. I also think that obviously the Djax bomb was great, but beyond that, it's nice to at least see that he's spreading the ball around. Like, it's not great for fantasy if you're trying to pair a receiver with him in DFS or something like that.
I played him naked.
I paired him in one lineup with Rager just as like a
as soon as I knew Djax was in, I even talked Keenan off of it. I was like, because he was like pair him with Rager, and I was like, no, Djax is back. Djax is gonna ruin everything.
No, I did it. There's a charity event on DraftKings where it's a free lineup, so I decided to throw Rager in there with him. Nice. As my one stack that I had. But anyways, yeah, I think that there's at least a ceiling that we can see now for Hurts if you have to play him in a Week 17 championship.
So what happens to Wentz now, like with this team? I mean, he's done, right? Like, he's not. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be the most overpaid backup ever, or if AJ Dillon just made the Titans look silly, dude.
I told you, if you play Showdown on a day like today, I put in AJ Dillon with Aaron Jones, so it's actually going to pay off for me because he was
that
like
works for me because I'm in a third place game where I at least get my entry fee back, and I'm playing Aaron Jones. So thank you. Nice. I'm up by like 30 points. And he's got a couple people, and one of them was Jones. So I was like, I'm sweating. So that's good. Yeah, but I mean, like, what do they do? I mean, is he gonna be the most overpaid backup, or they're gonna somebody actually gonna trade for that dumb contract that he just signed? He's making the Eagles look really stupid now.
I mean, there's going to be a couple teams that are going to be in dire straits for a quarterback. I mean, you could see Detroit moving on from Stafford. You could see Jimmy G potentially gone. You could see Phillip Rivers not staying with the Colts since he's doing a year-to-year thing.
But they essentially have their guy. They took their late-round guy. What's his name?
Oh, Easton, whatever. Yeah, that's great. Like, whatever. But if you could at least, but do you want a guy that at least has had success and you've seen it? There's tape. There's. The coach and stuff like that. That's the good coach, and Frank Reich and stuff like that. That may want to take a chance. The only problem is you need the Eagles to take some of that money, and that's that's when you're trading Wentz and you're only getting back like a third and like a fifth and like 20-35. Like, it's just like you're not going to get a lot of value back unless you're taking a ton of money. So I bet that he probably gets a chance to compete knowing full well that he's the backup next year.
Yeah. It'll
just because that contract is just
this will
it's
be
not even a poison pill type of contract. It was a bad contract.
Yeah, this will be one of the teams that I watch to see what they do in the offseason big time. I want to see what they do there. I was all in on Wentz, being a solid fantasy quarterback this year. After what he did with what he had last year, I thought for sure, like, if he got some weapons back, and of course they all got hurt again, not totally his fault, but after seeing what Hurts is able to do with the same people, there was something off. The
offensive line never made it to week 1. Like,
I know
it fell apart before they even.
I know it stinks, and obviously Hurts' mobility helps him with the really bad O line, but it's just one of those. Hurts just couldn't get it done, or Wentz couldn't get it done with the same guys, and I finally really started paying more attention to him, and once he started just overthrowing guys, it's like over their heads, and they're standing right in front of them. It was like something's wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if something comes out where it's like he's been injured the whole year.
I mean, he could still be having issues. He's had a lot of issues, with his leg. Like, it matters. So.
Yeah, when you lose your legs, man, you're not gonna be able to throw very well. So, all right, man, that's it for the show. Hope everybody did well in Week 16, won your championships, or you're about to, and or you get what you need for the rest of the games here. This is going to be the last show of the year for us. I'm not doing a Week 17 recap because nobody cares.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
But I think
Are we doing the football podcast this week?
We'll do the Fantasy Six Pack podcast. We'll do an awards show. It'll be kind of fun. It's just
God. You have to dress up for this? Oh wait, I'm not on camera. It doesn't matter.
No. It'll be a shit. Maybe I'll wear my Pac-Man suit. It'll be close to New Year's Eve. It'll be fun. Should I do it?
Are we doing it on New Year's Eve?
I don't know. Is it Thursday?
It's a Thursday.
Is New Year's Eve Thursday? Maybe we'll do.
Yeah, because Christmas Eve is a Thursday.
Maybe we'll do a different day. Maybe we'll do Wednesday.
We'll do a day that ends in a Y. I can agree to that.
Sure. Maybe we'll do Wednesday. Right. I didn't even realize, but whatever. We'll celebrate New Year's on the show. We'll do a little award show. Just fun. We'll have some more like superlative awards. We'll make it fun. So tune into that on Thursday, and I promise you won't have to look at Jeff's face anymore.
Oh. Hey, somebody's got to bring not only the age down, but also the looks up. So
wow, age
down. Yeah, and I'm the only one that's got the good color on their skin that's willing to show it all the time. So
okay, all right,
yeah.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for watching.
Peace.